evening, folks. Welcome to the Leeds View podcast. You're here for the first one of these of the season because we've finally gone and signed a player. So we always do these when we sign a player. We were going to do the podcast anyway tonight, but it's a solo show tonight. I hope you're all doing well. I'll do the intro stuff properly. This is the Leeds View podcast. My name is Jer, and we are part of the Sports Social Podcasting Network. If you want to buy the new Leeds United shirt, which Harry Wilson is wearing very well, I must say, by the way, you can check out our official links down below to Fanatics in our partnership with Leeds and Fanatics. You can check all that out. Your comments will be running along the bottom corner of the screen. And we're just going to have a chat about this. We're going to do the podcast as per usual. So we are going to talk about all the other bits and pieces floating around Leeds, but we will start with the Harry Wilson stuff. I'll jump into the comments to see how you're all doing. Any other signings? You couldn't wait 5 minutes, Killer. You couldn't wait 5 minutes. Yeah, it's done. Hello to Sarah. Hello to Wifia. We'll go with that. Michael is here. Good afternoon from the States. And James Snow. James Show. Feels like a castaway. Very, very good. Good. And Lee is here as well. I hope you're all having a lovely evening. It's absolutely sweltering outside right now where I am. But we will, you're there not to take a pinch of salt. No, this one, no salt on this one. It's done. It's dusted. He is in the door. Good evening to you all. Right. So Harry Wilson is signed for Leeds United. And everyone's been saying for weeks, I'm not believing this until I see him in a Leeds United shirt. But you know what? I'm not one to keep you waiting, and I'm not one to disappoint you. Just in case you haven't seen it, you probably have. You've probably seen the interview. You've probably looked at the social media clips. But this is Harry Wilson in a Leeds United shirt. There you go. Do you know what I'll do? That's Ethan Amper doing a Leeds United shirt. There he is there now. There. What I'll do is I'll take the banners off for a second so we can see it properly. There we go. Harry Wilson in a Leeds United shirt. Very good intro video, by the way, on the social media stuff, talking about the decision that he had to make and what were we going to do and how are they going to do it. Well, they did it. And all done and dusted and in the can. So Harry Wilson is a Leeds United player, signed a 4-year contract at the club. I also think, by the way, we need to speak about that training gear, by the way, looks really, really nice. It's not out yet. There is an emblazoned Red Bull logo across the middle of it. But yeah, the lad looks good in the Leeds kit. It has to be said. He does. Looks the part. So, yeah. All very, very good. It did take long for this one to get done. It did feel like it was, good evening to you, sir. How are you doing? Hope you're well. It did feel like it was dragging on. But again, I think we've talked for weeks about credibility. And again, today in the news, we talked about it. So what's important, I think, with this is to listen to the right people. And if you listen to what was said last week, Graham Smith said it again during the week. It was done. It was dusted. It was just the media stuff that needed to get done. And that got done. And now we have him there. And I'm getting distracted by your comments. This is why I don't do live streams, because I get distracted by the comments. Somebody wants a Cape Verde player. You can get Pico Lopez from Shamrock Rovers if you want. But yeah, it's really, really good. What I'll do is I'm not going to show this the statement on the screen because, you get in trouble for that kind of stuff. What I am going to do is I'll go through it. Real quick. I'll just get his overlay back up on the screen real quick. And what I'll do is I'll go through the lead statement very, very quick on this, because this is the one everyone's been waiting on. I think that's very fair to say. So, and I'll skip past the bits that don't matter. Leeds United are delighted to announce the signing of exciting forward Harry Wilson, who joins the club following the expiry of his contract at fellow Premier League side Fulham, arriving at Elland Road on a 4-year deal. Wilson becomes the first signing of this summer's transfer window, having chosen to join the Whites over several options elsewhere. Wilson is an experienced top flight and international attacker who can operate anywhere across the forward areas, showing versatility, quality in that final third. Starting his career at Liverpool, he's now 29 years of age, having played twice in the first team at Anfield. Blah, blah, blah. Not important. He was also, individual accolades followed Wilson's time with the Tigers as the club's Player of the Month award in March, PFA Player of the Month in April, and sparking interest from other clubs. That was at Anfield. So he moved on from Anfield. We can bypass Bournemouth. We can bypass all that. He's had a great career. Lovely, lovely stuff. What's the detail here? So 69 caps while representing Wales, have seen him play at Euro 2020 and 2022 World Cup, while also having an international hat-trick to his name, which came in a 7-month humping of North Macedonia. He has linked back up with some of the notable international teammates like Zetterstrom and blah, blah, blah. Now, the detail on this, so we're going to get the rest of the stuff on this. Who did Leeds beat for this? That's the interesting part of this. And there's a lot of clubs being mentioned. And people keep saying, you see it in the comments, and it's, again, I always kind of try and say, just breeze past it. But There was a lot of clubs interest. Aston Villa, my brother's a Villa fan. They were really active in this. I was speaking to a creator yesterday who was a Villa fan, and he was saying, we thought we had him. And you guys nipped in and got him ahead of us. So Aston Villa were one. Obviously, Fulham wanted to retain him as well. Benfica were mentioned as well, with his former manager moving down there as well. They were talked about being interested in him. So we've done about Everton, and Everton came in really, really late. And that's the one for me, I thought, when Everton got involved in this, I think we said it on Transfer Talk, when Everton got involved in this, we're not going to get him. But we did. It's a 4-year deal, which is a long deal for a player, edging towards his 30s. Says a man of 45 years of age. But at the same time, footballers nowadays are different, aren't they? They can go for far longer. They look after himself. Wilson seems to be the kind of guy that looks after himself. Paul, congratulations on being a member for 7 months. Thanks very much for supporting the channel through the memberships. We appreciate that. Absolutely. So yeah, it is good news. Yeah, he is a good player. Gary's saying it there in the chat. He is a good player. I think he adds something different to what we've already got. I think it's competition now for Brendan Aronson, which is needed. Still remains to be seen what was going to happen with Brendan Aronson over the course of the summer. I know there's people who don't like Brendan Aronson, don't like him. Not liking him's the wrong term. Don't necessarily think he's the best player in the Leeds United starting 11. I strangely enough think as part of a squad, Brendan Aronson could be very useful. You think of the energy he brings to a pitch. You think of the amount of running that he does. You bring him on the last 15, 20 minutes of a game against a side that's lagging and getting a bit tired. You might see the best out of him, but that's by the by. We're not at that point yet. We're not talking about that. Brendan Aronson's due back to have a contract talks, I believe, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, it is the first signing. It kind of feels like this is the start of the movement. The players are due back in pre-season training on Monday at Thorpe Arch. Some of them have already been back. So Andy Cousins was speaking about this during the week, and he said some of the players have been back for measurements, a little bit of extra work, a little bit of extra guidance on what they need to do. So all good. And I love seeing the players come back into pre-season training. Again, love seeing them in the training kit, which looks really nice. Really, really, really nice. So yeah, there's no point in draining the ocean on this. We could do an hour and a half on Harry Wilson. There's no real point. Most people are very happy with this one. And I suppose the patience element of this. Leeds tried to get him on deadline day last year. We didn't get it done. 12 months later, we get him for nothing, So although we complained about the Elland Meslier situation, leaving for nothing, we did get Harry Wilson for nothing. And that might save some money to go elsewhere. Leeds may have had to look at spending money in that attack in third. I still think Leeds will look at a number 10. I still think they need to get another number 10, if I'm being completely honest. If Daniel Farke wants a bit more flexibility with that front three, if he decides to play one behind a two, or if he decides to play wide men and go back to a 4-3-3, I hope he doesn't. But if he does decide to do that, and again, Farke wants this, so give him what he wants this. So I think he's earned it at this point. People ask about the Carl Darlow situation, where we are with that. Look, we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. There's no point in having a pop at Carl Darlow. We don't know the details. We'll have to wait and see where that one goes. Likely find out in the next couple of days if he turns back up for preseason training on Monday, which would be interesting. That's the other thing as well. It's going to be really interesting to see the loanees that come back to the club. Obviously, Isaac Schmidt's been linked to the move to Basel, and young boys. We don't know what's going to go on with Max Ferber. He said he hadn't heard from Leeds. He's due back. Jack Harrison looks like he wants to go somewhere else if there's any interest in him. Harry Gray's gone off on loan already from last season. And then the under-21s will be interesting to see what they do as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a fascinating 7 to 10 days over the next couple of week or so. 7 to 10 days, Jer. Yeah, 7 to 10 days. And we'll see who starts popping up when the cameras are on them, and if Leeds can get any other deals done. The Shay Charles stuff has gone very quiet. I don't want to tempt fate, but you know what, Leeds, things go very, very quiet. Something usually happens. There were some talks at the start of the week that Leeds were confident that they could get a deal done this week. They weren't a million miles away from getting it done. Wait and see on that one as well. That would be an interesting one to get done. I still don't know necessarily where he fits in the whole midfield area, but I don't think you can have enough good players. People were asking, will Daniel Farke start to rotate his squad next season? When will we see Daniel Farke start to rotate his squad? And I think one of the key parts is when he turns around and looks at that substitute bench, if he sees players in there that are offering real competition for starting places, then I think you start seeing rotation. I think you start seeing subs be made earlier as well. While he still looks around that bench and sees cover players, I don't blame him necessarily always for not rotating. Yeah, it has gone quiet on the departures. Michael's asking about departures as well. It has gone very, very quiet on departures. But it's not an area Leeds have been great at. But again, at the same time, I'm not overly worried. I think they know what they're doing this summer when it comes to departures, and I think they'll get them done. There's lots of little threads. And again, the transfer market hasn't really kicked off just yet. So we'll have to wait and see. Some of the ITKs over in Waco apparently are saying Shay Charles is done, but they said that 2 weeks ago as well. So there is some of the lads over there know what they're talking about. But it will be interesting to see if they do bring in Shay Charles. And then where does the attention turn to? Where do we sit with Julian Brandt? Are we out of that mix completely? Is that gone dead? Or do we see a flurry of players walk in the door on Monday for pre-season training, which would be great to see? Do you remember those old signing moments with Leeds where all of a sudden there'd be nothing? Obviously, this is the days of newspaper, so I'm sorry if you're under the age of 30. But for everybody else, where all of a sudden there'd be an article in the YEP and it would be 4 players have signed for Leeds on the same day. They get them all done and dusted. So yeah, he does look great in that kit. He does. It definitely suits him. It's a beautiful kit. By the way, if you have a body, you can use the Fanatics link and you can buy it there. I'm done with the plugin. So there we go. That's Harry Wilson and where we are in the transfers. If you want to talk about Suzuki, let me know in the chat. I'll give you the blow by blow and where we are with that situation. 3.9 and a 10 have to be the priority. 3 and 9 and a 10 have to be the priorities. Plus a goalkeeper. The goalkeeping situation is interesting. Again, Andy Cousins and a few other people reckon if Darlow signs, Leeds don't go for a goalkeeper. And I'm okay with that. I think spend your money where you need to spend it. Michael saying, Jared, do you think the reason for the transfer market hasn't kicked off is due to the World Cup? Yeah, huge part to it. Yeah, massive part to it. I also think the SCR is a factor as well. I mean, you look at the likes of Aston Villa and Newcastle, they've already breached SCR when it comes to UEFA's version. Have had to pay fines there. The clubs are rejigging their books and trying to see what they can do. The amortization stuff will be interesting, how that's going to work under the SCR models as well. So, yeah, I do think the World Cup's having an impact. And I think Leeds said this. Prag Marate did say the window would kind of be in 2 different spaces. There would be the bit before the World Cup where we try and get deals done, which for all intents and purposes, that's when Harry Wilson was done, was before the World Cup, just waiting on him to get back. And the second half of the window will be once the World Cup was finished because Leeds had targets who were at the World Cup. Now, that could be someone like Suzuki, it could be someone we never heard of, and we know what Leeds are like and summer transfer windows. There'll be a ton of talk about players, and then somebody else will sign for Leeds. So, Paul is saying, I wonder is Suzuki even a legitimate story? Well, let's chat about it, right? Let me give you the detail on Suzuki, because I said yesterday in the news that the Suzuki stuff looked like it was nonsense. Nicola Shearer is the one running with it. Nicola Shearer, for me, just not a credible journalist. And I think the reason I said that, and you'll have seen in the news today, if we start off with him saying that a deal had already been agreed between Suzuki and Leeds, and then all of a sudden he's turned down Leeds, and that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't track. So I think you can push that one aside. So I thought at that point, this is all noise. Nobody in Parma is covering it. Andrea Russo has been keeping a track of this for us in Parma. Nothing there. No journalists aren't talking about Leeds at all. They're talking about Aston Villa. And then this morning, it got interesting because this morning you had 2 journalists. You had Marco Contero, who is the Italian journalist who broke the Jacobiol to Leeds story this time last year. That makes him credible. And then you also had Mario Moretto, who's incredibly credible, and he doesn't put out stuff unless he knows something is actually going to happen. Said it in the news. You don't have to like Fabrizio Romano to know that he doesn't put out stories or stuff unless there's truth to it. As I said again, they don't call him the tap-in merchant for nothing. Moretto is his right-hand man, and what they said was the Leeds are interested in him. Suzuki is very likely to go to the Premier League, but the flip side of this is the other interest in him. So the other interest in him was Aston Villa. Emi Martinez's representatives were seen in Italy with Juventus talking over a potential deal to go to them. If he goes to them, Villa are expected to move for Suzuki. There's your dominoes falling. Suzuki becomes an Aston Villa player. Champions League football, likely to be able to bid more money on a transfer as well. So that's that. Leeds won't get involved in a bidding war. Parma are said to not be in a rush to sell the keeper. They're happy for the interest to build because they know when the interest builds, more money is coming their way. So they ain't in a rush right now. So I do think that he's definitely on a short list of players for Leeds. I do think that. I think he's not the only one. I think a lot of the names you're probably hearing over the course of the summer were players that Leeds have inquired about, and that's how that information's gotten out. Not necessarily the players that Leeds have made moves for just yet. So, yeah. Look in the comments. Jerry went to Dublin and met a friend of yours, taxi driver in Leeds. Jerry, friend, I don't know any taxi drivers in Leeds, in Galway, but on Dublin. Sorry, what's his name? Was it Jerry? Or you, Jerry? That's Susie. Let me know. That's interesting. I don't know. That's nice. Yeah. So what else have we got to talk about? That's the Suzuki stuff. So yeah, I do think there's some credibility in it. I think the same with Shay Charles. No real updates on Shay Charles. The Wacko lads say it's done. We'll have to wait and see if that one gets across the line. Graham Smith said that there was still progress ongoing. Barron Cross said Leeds were still in talks about that. So I believe those guys an awful lot. And Michael's making a really good point here about the transfer market in general. Jared, Tottenham have spent 237 million on players this summer. Nottingham Forest have recruited Glasner, the head coach. Two teams who fought relegation last season have shown statements of intent early. It's a long window. I keep saying this. We have to learn the lessons of the past at some point. We can't keep reacting to early windows and then by the end of the window having signings in the door and go, yeah, they're not bad. And then 6 months down the road going, Jesus, actually, that was a really good summer transfer window. Let the lads cook, let them do their thing, and we'll see where we are when the window is closed. Trust them to do their job. And I think the recruitment team have earned a little bit of credit and a little bit of chance to do their job properly, because for me, they will get their money spent. I think you're still looking at it around 100, 120 million, depending on how much they bring in transfer sales as well. It could be higher than that. That will all depend on the exits. So what else? Let's get the admin out of the way. Fullerton Park, by the way, if you are parking at Elland Road coming up to the new season, you won't be parking in Fullerton Park. It won't be in use at all next season due to the construction works on Elland Road. There is replacement options in place. The Leeds United have an obligation to fulfill matchday traffic congestion reduction as well as pedestrian access to the ground. The club are going to manage and operate the council car parks around the ground. That's where the car parking slack will be picked up when it comes into the season kicking off. I wanted to talk about Noah Okafor as well tonight, because I've reached out to the man that told me he was signing for Leeds last year. And I'm skeptical. So when people tell me things, I don't usually put it out because I'm not trying to be first. I just put the stuff out when it's right. And then lo and behold, he signed for Leeds. So, but I do believe this man. He's a good friend of mine. And I reached out to him and I asked him, what's the situation with Noah Okafor? We've heard he's leaving the club because he blacked out a social media profile and apparently rumored Celta Vigo 20 plus million. He laughed when I said Celta Vigo. He laughed out loud. So that was enough. Not go to Celta Vigo. I asked him about him leaving. He goes, he's heard nothing. He's heard absolutely nothing. The blacked out profile could have something to do with Switzerland. It might have nothing to do with anything. It could just be a player doing a thing on social media. So as it stands right now, apart from him being desperately unlucky not to play in the World Cup, by the way, the last game in the World Cup, by the way, you've got a manager who's bringing on lads from Burnley instead of bringing on the Switzerland's record goal scoring player in the Premier League, sitting on the bench and he's looking for a goal. Yakin seems to be willing to bite his nose off to spite his face. So, yeah. So there's that. So he's not going anywhere, at least right now. Obviously, things can change. Somebody could come in with a ludicrous amount of money. He could come back and ask to leave. Daniel Farke could say, I want someone else. Things can happen over a window and change, but it seems to be a storm in a teacup, at least right now, where we are. And then what else to talk about? What else is there to talk about? Nothing really else. It's pretty quiet. I'll go back to Harry Wilson then. We'll get some of your comments as well, see what you're all saying about this. Chris has said, in response to Spurs spent 250 million, they spent almost $1 billion in the last 5 years and got worse. That is very true. Chelsea has spent $1 billion and got worse. Man United has spent a decade paying ridiculous fees and have gotten worse. Have they just signed Silva from Chelsea as well, by the way? Which I thought I saw that. So that's a bizarre move. Yeah, they have. Manchester United have agreed a deal with Chelsea to sign, sorry, not Silva, Santos, Andre Santos for 48 million plus 2, which I think is interesting. Profile pick goes black if someone puts a copyright claim against it. Could just, again, yeah, could be nothing, Danny. Absolutely could be. Santos, 50 million. Cheers, Mark. Yeah, absolutely. SST says, the good news is that they haven't used Harry Wilson sign to soften bad news. No, not yet. We'll see. Spurs always spend massive every year. Yeah. And I mean, look, you've got De Zerbi, who's quite volatile as a manager as well. So you never know how things will pan out. Give things time. We did nothing in January. We did a big summer. We did nothing in January, and we improved as the season went on. So there's always context to these things. I'm bearing in mind, I was on Sky Sports and I said, I think we needed to do some business in January. I was disappointed we did nothing because I felt we were an injury or two up front away from being in serious trouble. But look what happened. That's 2 Januaries where they've gone, do you know what? This is a good group of players. We trust the manager. We trust the players. Let them do the thing. And they finished 14th. They actually got better after January. So, yeah, you can never Neco Williams next. Jake says Spurs won't be down the bottom. I don't think they'll be anywhere near it, Jake. Don't think they'll be anywhere near it. Skip says, will Wilson play as a winger or as a striker? I think it gives him options. I think that's the most important part of this. I think it gives Daniel Farke real options. If he wants to go with a 4-3-3 or a 3-4-3 or something like that, he's got options there. I think he'll probably play in the 2 behind the 1. I think he'll have Okafor on the left coming in on his right foot. I think he'll have Wilson on the right coming in on his left foot, and then DCL up top linking the play. But it gives him a huge amount of flexibility there as well. Someone explain to me how Spurs match day revenue is the highest in the Premier League, which is football related revenue. So from an FCR perspective, that's grand. So any money they've got from that, they can bank. It's over 4 million quid a home game, I think. Plus they've the NFL deal, which is also comes in as football related revenue. They've also got concerts and gigs to bring money in that way. The Champions League football last year, or European football last year. So that money is still coming through for this season as well. So that's if they struggle again next year, that's gone. But for now, they should be okay. Jake said, thought Villa were interested for the young French keeper from Lens, I believe he is. I think Villa are having a look at a couple, same as us, because Zetterstrom has been linked with Leeds. We've been linked with a couple of goalkeepers as well. So again, you're in shortlist territory at this stage of the season. Gary says, Jer, gonna add before I go off how much I appreciate all the work that you do. Oh, well, I appreciate that, man. Thanks very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Neil, I was beginning to worry this wasn't going. Ever the pessimist, Neil. Ever the pessimist. No, when Graham Smith said it was done, it was done. It was done. Yeah. Agent Smith says, have any credible English sources reported on Suzuki? None. Not one. 0. Graham Smith said it's an ambitious move. That's it. That is the extent. So, no, they haven't. Which I think is a very important point. Bridgety says, brilliant work on the channel, Jer. Up Wexford, fair play to you. Yeah, but I'm a Cork man who lives in Meath. But there you go. Elm says Trafford is a better bet for Leeds over Suzuki. Suzuki has no Premier League experience, young, etc. If you can get Trafford, and it's a really good point, because if you're gonna spend the money that's being rumored, and it is only rumored, and I know we say pinch of salt an awful lot, but it's very much rumor territory. Like, if you're gonna blow £35 million on a goalkeeper like Suzuki, why would you not try and buy James Trafford, who's a proven entity in the Premier League, no settling in time, understands the league, probably knows the players. We've already been on this road with Lucas Perry, who, by the way, may have settled in. Apparently there were some personal issues with him last season that weren't being talked about as well, so that had an impact on him. So could still be number 1 next year. You never know. And we all love a redemption arc. And many players have been written off by people in the past who've gone, look at me now. So yeah, you never know. Rad Music Chat says, yeah, Darlow is more than good enough for number 1, at least for a year. Yeah. I think Darlow signs a new deal. I think you probably see him swan into training on Monday, and all of this was a drama that Leeds was just allowed to play out online. Let do its thing. No point getting involved in it. Just another 5 or 6 now. I think 5. I don't think we'll see a huge volume. Chris says, I think we get Charles after that. A Pascal replacement must be the priority. Yeah, going. Lots of different talk about Krejci going to maybe Spain. People interested in him there. So that's not necessarily guaranteed either. He's going to cost a few quid. What kind of money? I don't know. And as somebody pointed out to me in the chat a couple of weeks ago or a couple of days ago, it's not my money. But as long as Leeds spend it wisely and they can give Daniel Farke everything that he needs and not, drop something for the sake of something else, that is important. That one Leeds guy says, can't believe we have Harry Wilson now. I believe we can possibly get Euro. Set the expectation level, say 12th, maybe 12th. IBW Pierre is here, says, Krejci needs our medical team as he's injured so easily. Little knocks. Very good for his country. Very, very good for his country, but not a guarantee either. The Leeds Gamer says, how do, Jer? How do, man? So I see Binocular Boy has arrived. Hopefully now he can score and assist the ton for Leeds. That would be nice, wouldn't it? It would be nice. Concern, no Farke contract. We've talked about this a lot. And I think it's different than a player. Daniel Farke has got a year left on his Leeds United contract. I don't think there's necessarily a panic right now to get a new deal. And I think I said it in the news, there's 2 sides. And I really genuinely think Daniel Farke said he wants Leeds to match his ambition. So he's going to want to see that in action. He's going to want to see what comes in the door and what goes out the door this summer. And if that ambition that they've said they have is matched up with actual players coming in the door. And then if he sees it, maybe he goes, yeah, let's sign a deal. And then from Leeds' side on it, Leeds might be going, well, it's the second year in the Premier League. Let's just see, give it a couple of months, see if the team performs in the Premier League. But I don't think there's a massive rush. I mean, if you think about Marcelo Bielsa, he only ever signed 1 year contract. So every season with Bielsa was exactly what it is right now with Daniel Farke. I think he's deserved his new contract, and we'll have to wait and see. Any news on the home kit? I believe it's the end of July, mid to end of July that is coming out. I don't know for a fact. Aronson, Bellissimo, yeah, Blamo. Lord Protector says we can maybe utilize Largy next season. I don't think he will. I think Largy goes because Largy is an out-and-out winger. I don't think Daniel trusts him completely to maintain the ball. I think that's why he'll go. Jake said the Wolves want upwards of 40 million for Krejci, which is mad when you think about it. They signed him for 26 million a couple of days ago. Like it's literally like less than a week ago that they completed that obligation for 26. And then they're like, I want 40 for him. You just paid 26. It's not how it works. I don't think they'll get 40. I don't think anybody pays 40. I'm being completely honest. Danny B says the fees we pay aren't an issue whatsoever. It's how we split our overall SCR budget. We maybe overpay for one, maybe get one cheaper to offset that. Yeah, it's one pot for all positions we need. Yeah, I mean, again, you can probably throw a few more quid at a free agent to give him better wages to get him in the door, like a Brandt or a Wilson. Maybe they're getting better personal terms, signing on bonuses because you're not spending a transfer fee. Same with that. You can probably, if you get a free transfer in the front, you can maybe spend more money at the back then. It comes around. We'll have to see. Sue says his name was Jerry. Okay. He said he knows you from the Camden, Jerry. Oh, that Jerry. I do know Jerry. Yes, I do know. Yeah. I didn't know Jerry was a taxi driver. Now I do. Now I know. Mr. Yorkshire Monkey says, as long as Farke signs before preseason. I think preseason's Monday. Or do you mean preseason football, as in games? That's 22nd of August. So yeah, I'll be the same as that. As long as there's no drama, then there's nothing to worry about. Do you think that Darlow is seeing what Leeds do? I think there could be a case to that. I don't know. And I wouldn't want to speculate on it because for all we know, that deal is already done. It just hasn't been made public. And, Leeds work in silence, so you never know. Elm says, get Martinez in. I take him in a heartbeat. Take him in an absolute heartbeat. Does it surprise you that Illan joined Arsenal as a backup? Yeah, it really did. That surprised me a lot. Joe Blackburn even said it about him that, he's defended Illan Meslier more than most people. And even he thinks it's a crazy move for Illan Meslier. You're 26 years of age and you're saying you're happy being a backup. I think that's unusual. I would have thought he would have backed himself and gone off to try and play first team football somewhere. But yeah, Sue says, sorry, I'm living the past, watching life. That's okay, Sue. That's okay. Andrew Thompson says, love the signing, but I'm concerned about the lack of communication about Darlow and Charles signing taking so long and Suzuki not coming. So yeah, again, just breeze through them real quickly. Leeds do everything in silence. I wouldn't be worried about it. I would just look at last summer and the summer before and apply that logic to this one. And I would look at it from a logical perspective. Communication about Darlow, they don't have to communicate anything. They've said that they've offered him a new deal. That's where it is. So that's all you're really going to get. Charles signing taking so long. It's a summer transfer window. We're still only a couple of weeks into it. It's relatively early still. And Suzuki not coming. No one said he was. This is all coming from Italian journalists. Nothing credible from the UK side. Moretto and checks his notes. Contero say Leeds have interest in him, but everyone expects him to go to Aston Villa. So I wouldn't be focused on Suzuki. If he comes in, great. We need 6 more signs. I think we need 5 first team players or players that will compete for first team positions because that makes the bench better as a result of that. Rick says Wilson, excellent player. Sure, it looks good, but does he have holes in the calves of his socks or holes in the back of his boots as we've now seen at the World Cup? He says, can't believe the Norway keeper is a free. You need to sign him up. That Norway keeper played for Aston Villa and wasn't great when he was younger, a little bit younger. He's 35 years of age now. He's a free agent. He was Seville's number 1. He was replaced last season as their number 1. He played 5 matches last season for Sevilla. So, again, what did I always say? Don't buy a player based on a World Cup. Don't do it. He was excellent the other night. Excellent. But still, I had to check it. I saw. I was like, no, that's not the same Nyland that was at Villa. Again, my brother's a Villa fan. He doesn't like Nyland and he doesn't rate Nyland. So I did have a look at it. I was like, yeah, this is the same guy. We need left centre back by 2, 1 backup left back. Yeah, that's 3. Probably a 10-4, and a striker 5. If you have to do the keeper, there's your 6, but then you're selling someone to bring in somebody. Well, not selling somebody, but losing your goalkeeper to bring in one. So, yeah, Illan gone for the money. I mean, it must have been decent. Paul Graves said 50 million, the 5th from Newton Heat had their pants pulled down again. I think it's a lot of money for Sandro, whatever his name is, your man. Anyway, any true that Lloyd Kelly interest. So yeah, we spoke to Andrea about this as well. I saw one aggregate site say that a former player at Liverpool or somewhere or Newcastle said that Lloyd Kelly is incredibly fast. Look up what the Juventus press say about Lloyd Kelly. Turns like an oil tanker. Not a quick player. No interest. From Leeds apparently liked him, or they admired him at one point. I think he is not an upgrade on Pascal Stroke. I think he'd be a cover if you are bringing it in, and apparently they want ridiculous money for him. So no. Nah, you wouldn't be, John. You'd be all right without me. The Leeds gamer says Charles is too expensive when our midfield is already good. I feel we need more attacking options. I see Bertrand's gone. Why'd you bring that up? Sent me. Yes, Bertrand's gone to Saudi. Devastated about that one. Yeah, Shay Charles is interesting because he does box to box as well as the 6. And Sean Longstaff has just changed his agency, which I'm not saying it means anything, but it's interesting. That's all I'm going to say. It's interesting. I'm a big fan of Connor from, I'm assuming you're going to say One Leeds, because hello, Connor. How you do? Mark my word says better off with Ned Kelly. Mate, probably, yeah. That's York says, love you, man. Keep up the good work. Smash the like. Yeah, if you could hit like on this, that'd be fantastic. I'd really appreciate that. Nick says, also an attacking midfielder and backup centre forward. If Charles comes in, then I reckon 2 current midfielders leave. I think probably 1 definitely goes, yeah. Because he does the 6 and he does the 8 as well. I think you're probably looking at a Groove or a Longstaff even maybe there. Yeah, be interesting. John Moore says, I agree with needing another 4 or 5 signings. Dust off Gary Kelly. He's up the road from me. I'll go and have a word with him. Absolutely. Jason says, we all have us raging about no signings. Shares calm head and keeps on level. I genuinely, I look at last summer, and I think if you look at the 49ers and the recruitment team Leeds have, they worked with a certain pattern. And I apply that to this summer, given that last summer for me is a very good window. Summer before that was a very good window. The side that finished 14th and got to an FA Cup semi-final has been built over the last 3 windows. So for me, trust the process, let them do their thing. And if it's a disaster at the end, we'll say it's a disaster. But I don't like faux outrage, and I'm not a believer in getting angry about something before it ever happens. I mean, and it's clickbaity as well. Outrage, Is it though? Is it really? We'll see. And if it is, it is when it happens. And do you think we get Brandt? I don't. I think it's a very aspirational move. I like that it's aspiration. I like that Leeds are going for. I'd love us to get him. Any news on Ryan Kent? Released by Seattle Sounders, so he might be available. The Leeds gamer says, weirdly, I thought Nyland played for Everton. Don't know why. I had to look him up again because there's a few Nylands, I think. And I was like, that's not the same guy, is it? And it was. Andrew only got Perry as a goalkeeper, needs addressing with 2 more keepers. Left back cover 10, striker and a centre back cover for Stroke. Who would be a realistic targets for all those positions? Jesus, I think you could probably try and get a free transfer in there somewhere as well. There's a couple of decent free agents rocking around at the moment as well. Perry be your backup. You could buy 1 more goalkeeper. Alex Cairns your 3rd choice. You got Rory Mahadi coming through from doing 21s as well. So I think there's that. 10, that's look, I mean, that's the one, isn't it? That's the tricky one. Where are you going to get a creative number 10 from who can put real pressure on players for spaces? I don't know. Stroke, there's Latte, the lad from Union Berlin, left-sided centre-back. Daniel Doki is a right-sided centre-back. Nico Lelvede, he's a right-sided centre-back. All very good centre-backs. Yes, you can play a right foot or at the left, but Daniel Farke likes to play left on the left, right on the right because of the patterns of play. So I haven't answered your question. I don't know. I'm not going to throw. Look, Andrea mentioned Mandela Keita last week as a possible Shay Charles alternative, and it took a place in Italy 3 days to pick that up and put it out as Leeds United are interested in Mandela Keita, who I wouldn't have said no to, but we're not interested in him. And always interested to see if any young 21s get a cup match or 2 this season. There could be a couple. Again, if you haven't seen this, and I do recommend it, there's plenty of people that watch my shows on this channel and say, I'm sick of transfer news. So we did something different, and we sat down with Andy Wood from the Leeds United Academy, Liam Bennett, who came through Leeds Academy, played with Calvin Phillips, and Ollie Norman to talk about the Leeds Academy and the young players there and what it really takes to be a player that can get into a first team. Nobody's watched it. No one's watched it. So don't tell me you don't like transfer stories if you're not going to watch the other stuff. I'd watch it, and I'm not saying because I did it. I went to Galway to do it. It's a really interesting insight to be. I mean, Liam says at one point, you have to be really elite to make that breakthrough now. It's not like it was before. And then Andy Cousins the week before spoke about the under 21s we've got right now coming through and how important it is for the 17 and 18s to get out on loan right now and get real minutes under their belt. If they're still here 2021, they've missed the boat. So you can check that out if you want to. Turns like an oil tanker. Yeah. Finally, the worrying is over. I wasn't worrying. I mean, I believe what I'm told more often than not. Spurs and the new Ryan Kent. Not anymore. It's done. It's dead. It's dead. Gone. Heartbroken. McDowell says, do you think Zetterstrom is coming to Leeds? I think he's probably on a short list of goalkeepers. Yeah. I'd say they've interested him. Very good last season for Derby. I think +5 XGOT in the championship. Would know the league. The country would need to settle in England. Would know it quite well. Very important what they did last year. No reason why Leeds with good age as well, coming to his better years. So wouldn't be too expensive either. And I believe that Derby are looking at Gavin Bazzuno, so they are looking at getting a replacement. So maybe he's on the move. Not necessarily to Leeds, but maybe he's on the move. Dave said, so we finally have our ban. We do. Big time coming. Maybe 12th place. I take it. The Leeds Gamer says, how do you think Gray will do it Wednesday? I mean, he's going to get kicked about a bit in League One. He got kicked about quite a lot last year. The physicality side of the game was definitely new for him. Struggled in a couple of games against the more physical teams, but was adapting by the end of the season. I think it's a good move for him. They should compete near the top of the league, so he should have more opportunities to score goals. Liam Cooper is there as well, which I think is really good to have someone that knows him as well. So I think he'll do fine. Martin Doyle says 1 in, need another 4. Yeah, I'd say it's about right. That's the number. It's probably about right. Nick Pamier says, I think the main question is the formation Farke wants to play. If he wants to play 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, then we will look for totally different players. Yeah, I agree. For me, if you're going to progress this time, I think you need to stick with the 3 at the back. I think Joe Rodon, Jacobial specifically were fantastic in it last year. I think got the best out of Pascal Stroke as well when he was there. Jacobial's at his absolute finest in a back 3. He struggles in a back 2. So again, you're playing the system to suit your players. It was effective last year. No reason why it wouldn't be effective with slightly better players and upgrades in those positions next season. So I don't want to see Leeds go back to a 4. No issue with Leeds playing out with a 4, but when we haven't got the ball, tucking back in with a 3. Chris, absolutely 100% agree with you, Jir. 4 or 5 first team players is what we need. Super excited. Yeah, and I'm very specifically saying 4 or 5 first team players because that puts real competition on that 11. And then if you're losing 4 or 5 off the bench to be replaced by that means whoever drops to the bench is still theoretically a starting level player. And that gives you real competition and give Daniel Farke real options to look around at his bench and say, yeah, you can come in for him. I can swap these around. I can rotate these players, without weakening the side necessarily. Can't 49ers activity. They won't tell us until it's done. Anything else will mean the prices of players have gone up. Yeah, and they won't get involved in bidding wars. Beardy man, everyone will be signed last minute. Even Wilson is a year. They weren't all signed last minute last year. This time last year, I think we had 3 in the door. So yeah, this last minute stuff and doing it on the cheap goes back. I don't know how many windows, and it just keeps getting regurgitated. But I don't think it's a real thing anymore. David said, "Let's talk about signings when they're confirmed and not speculate." It's a very mature way of looking at it, David. Gary Keys, just watched the Harry Wilson interview. Very interesting. Yeah, I think he's liking being here. Any news on Vober and Harrison finally getting booted out? I think they'll go this summer. Well, they should do. Vober replacing Stroke. I said this the other week and I was joking. And people got really upset. I was joking. And then I thought, if you're not a fan, and if you don't have the emotional side to your viewing of Leeds that we all have, and if you're Daniel Farke, does he look at it and go, a fit Max Vober is still a good backup at left centre back? Backup. If he brings in another left centre back, do you keep a Max Vober at that? And that's got nothing to do with how we feel about him. It's just how the manager might potentially look at it. Because again, the manager will look at it from a very logical perspective, a black and white perspective. He won't look at it from an emotional, fans don't want him here. We saw that with Jack Harrison last year. So you never know. Don't be shocked. And don't get angry. I'm only saying. What's happening with Sam Byram? I saw some bloke say he was going back to Norwich. That was incredible, but you never know. Nothing else. Simon says Stones free again. Yeah, I was kind of hoping Andy Cousins was dropping in something that maybe he knew. Andy Cousins said on the podcast last week he would take John Stones in a heartbeat because he can play in that left centre back position. Does for England and is very comfortable. I described him as world class. So there is that. Thought the name Liam Bennett rang a bell. Yeah, Liam Bennett was in the Leeds Academy, came through the ranks in Calvin Phillips' group, went off and played in the States, I believe. And then he's now part of Leeds United. He's the lead coach for Leeds in the 14s. And there's Ollie Norman, who's only 23 years of age. Ollie's the lead coach for the 12s. But how they all work together it's very interesting from how the academy structure works and how much Leeds are investing in the total area of Leeds to make sure they don't miss out on any players and get the best young lads in. So next 10 years could be interesting from the academy's perspective. Maybe Darlow said he will only sign if Wilson comes. Maybe, yeah. Maybe he says he'll sign it when he gets back from his holidays. At the 10 for sure, it's going to be the hardest target to get. To be honest, I think that the 10 position needs to be a record. I think you either go and get a record signing or you bring in a Julian Brandt for nothing. There's not many like him out there. Same as Vober, in for stroke, lol. Maybe. Paul, I watched it, and the Andy Wood is ultra enthusiastic. Andy Wood is infectious, by the way. Absolutely infectious. I could have, only for a day at a seminar to go and talk to the lads in Mary Oranmore, and a massive shout out to Mary Oranmore for letting me do the interview and coming down, and a big thanks to Leeds for letting me speak to the lads as well. Really, really appreciated that. Only for a day at a seminar, literally around that time, we could have gone another hour, I'd say, easily, because there was so much to talk about. I mean, they talk very highly of Adam Underwood and the progression that he's done through being in the recruitment team for the academy and then moved into the senior side and how they're all connected closer because of that. It's really interesting stuff. Andy's great. Jeremy said your transfer news is you're definitely excellent. It's just news. It's not an opinion. No one says it's true. It's just news. Just what's out there. Martin says turned in just in time for the ITK breaking news. You just announced about Leeds signing Ryan Kent. We've been chasing him for years. Yeah. Stones free. Jimi Hendrix. Yeah. Nick Welbetti. Love him. Watch him again. I think he's a very good centre back. He's a right-sided centre back. He's not a replacement for Stroke. I prefer Johansson over Zetterstrom. Yeah. Regards from Toronto. Hello, Toronto. I played football in Newfoundland. Nowhere near Toronto, but it's in Canada. Played football there for a while. Robert says the Pablo and the ball boy story is wonderful. It's brilliant. That's in that interview, by the way. It's really good. Anonymity says, I watched very good insight and some nice little anecdotes thrown in. Yeah, it's some good stuff. Coop's perfect with Harry Gray. Yep. He gets 10 or 12 goals for Wednesday. Fingers crossed he does. Yeah. Andrew says, how confident are you that Darlow resigns? If not, we'll be in a sticky position goalkeeper-wise. No, I don't think for the start of pre-season. I mean, Lucas Perry only came in halfway through pre-season and he went on to be number one for the start of the season. So I don't think it's a panic, especially if you're going to bring in a goalkeeper who's based in England. I think it's important to get the right people, not just get people in quickly, you know. Kevin, hi mate, love the pod, enjoying the World Cup. I think it's been a really good World Cup, by the way, outside of a couple of little niggly things off the field. We know what, but the football's been great. The stadiums have been fantastic. The crowds have been brilliant. It's been excellent. But now Leeds are back in training. I get that, but I can't wait. I can't wait to see them on Monday. James Justin did well in that back three too. Yeah, he's a good rotational option there as well. Even Danny, hope you're well, buddy. For me, it's 5-3-2 will be my formation. For me, it's 3-4-2-1. Is that right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Goalkeeper 11. Yeah, 3-4-2-1 will be me. Hey, Jer, off topic, but have you watched Rise of the 49ers documentary? I haven't. I probably should, but I haven't. Chris says, would you keep forwards a fifth choice? I'm not answering that question because if I answer that question, I'll get torn apart by people. What I will say is don't be surprised if Daniel Farke does. Michael says, Jer, can you see Borneo stepping into... No, I can't. Right-sider, right footer again. We need a lefty. And again, people will say a right footer can play there. They can. I played centre-back at times and I'm right-footed, but I prefer to play in that left centre-back role, but I like to go inward. I didn't like to go wide. So it depends. Daniel Farke likes his centre-backs to step out and go wide. Playing that, and again, from kickouts, they split as a 4. So he needs the left foot there so the ball goes down the flank rather than infield. So that's where I think. I wouldn't be surprised to see Borneo upgraded either with competition. I don't want to see him go either. I like Sebastian Borneo. I thought he was very good and very steady last year. Good backup option, good squad player, but you never know. The only player that wins from a bidding war, Yeah, well, the club are the only ones that really win the player. Also, Wilson actually briefly mentioned about the binocular moment. Well, he's him and Jaden Bogle. It's two of them now, isn't there? Can't trust forward here. He's not up to the job. He was when he first came. He was very good, despite the fact that the team were garbage. He was very good. We do have bad emotions about that stuff though. But yeah, after hearing Casillas' comment on how good Suzuki could be, I feel well, Buffon 2.0, wasn't it? I mean, if he is. He was very good for Brazil. Now, Andrea has watched him in Italy, and Andrea said he's a young goalkeeper. He does young goalkeeper things. So he has these rash moments where he will sprint out and, can do things like that. Bober didn't do himself any favors last season when he went out on loan. Well, he snapped his calf, I think, and then did another injury. He was injured all season with two very serious injuries. Both needed surgery. He's only played 11 games in 2 years. I think the point of the Bober situation is if he's fit and if Daniel Farke wants him, but you'd be surprised. Wales FC, we are, yeah, but excited about this one. They're good Welsh players. Agent Smith, I think that we will struggle to offload players at club's valuation. Hull seem to have gone off. Gallagher, no, they've pushed it to the end of the window. I think they think it's a tap in. I think that they don't believe anybody else is interested in them. That might not necessarily be the case. And I think they feel like, same with Ramazani, they'll both come back towards the end of the window and get him for a cheaper price because no one else is interested in him. And that might happen. But not a guarantee. Always felt Leeds should have gone for Kelleher last season, cost Brentford. Yeah, and I was wrong on that one, and I'm happy to admit that I was wrong on that one. I didn't think Kelleher would be as good as he was last season. And I'm Irish, I'm saying that. But he was excellent. The reason we are in a good place is because the whole club structure is well. Yeah, there's a joined up thought process amongst the whole lot. Chris Goff Clash says, how about this? Suzuki to Villa opens the door for Martinez. It does, but it's the other way around. Martinez to Juventus, Suzuki leaves Parma, goes to Villa. That's the domino that they're talking about in Italy right now. Nanto wanted out. Farke got him to play again. Don't rule it out. I think he could go. I don't know, but I think he could. Loving your work, Jer. We need to relax. Let them do their stuff. Yeah. Quiet and silence. Yeah, I always take it. If Leeds are quiet, they're busy. Do their jobs, lads. Leave them to it. Leave them to it. Jer, do we move back in time to reserve team football? Yeah, Andy spoke about this last week as well. And he thinks there's a huge benefit in that because you've got young players playing against senior players and getting kicked up and down the park nice and early in their career and getting used to that. So there's a benefit to it. It was a very interesting video with the boys from the development section. Very interesting. And I loved it. Yeah, look, that's the stuff I love doing. If I could do just that stuff, I'd do just that stuff. It's hard to do it, but it's for me, it's the insight of what goes on at the club. Transfers are transfers. You may get a guy, you may not get a guy. You might be linked with this fella, you might not, But that kind of stuff for me tells you where the club is going and what the engine in the football club is doing. And for me, it all seems like it's going the right way. I mean, Andy Wood said it out loud. Leeds United are back. I did say we'd bank that. We'll have to see. Next signing will be August. Maybe not. Barry signing for Wednesday. Barry Bannon signing for Wednesday. Sort of feels like Scrubber's great potential progress. Somewhat. Yeah. Think the wheels are gotten fully off turning transfer wise once the World Cup. Yeah, I think it kicks in once that's done. You might see a few before then. Free transfers maybe, but then again, free transfer players like Dominic Calvert-Lewin last year can take their time and weigh up all their options for a whole window and then come back to it at the end. Must be another free player they can spoil us with. I'd like Brandt. I wouldn't say no to Dookie either, or Doki. Braga goalkeeper Lucas Hornacek is decent. He's expensive. Yeah, he was mentioned early in the window, possibly Leeds having some level of interest. Again, maybe an option on a short list. Not too bothered about Suzuki, vastly overpriced. He might not be, but he might well be. He's 23. 35 million, 30 million euros, 27, 28, 29 million pounds. It's a lot. But if he's worth it, if he saves you 10, 12 goals a season, he's probably worth it, Just thought that we looked good with two up front DCL match. I loved that system, by the way. But Farke only played it twice. I did like that system with Meche. And I like Lucas Meche. Callum Wilson back up. Well, he's just signed for Brentford. So Callum Wilson, we won't be talking about him this summer. He's gone to Brentford. Suzuki conceded 46 goals. Yes, so interesting on that. So there was an important context to that. There was talk in Italy about it, and the Italian media, who are very harsh and can be very, very outspoken on players, said he could have done nothing more for Parma last year than he did. And they finished 6-7 points off of Europe. So not on him. Out there, we're doing multiple negotiations in parallel. Yeah, I would imagine there's a couple of irons in the fire. I hate saying that because it brings me back to Ken Bates' time and nothing ever happened. But yeah, I would imagine they are. Vobert isn't a bad player. He just isn't a fit player. Availability is the best ability. And he hasn't been available for anybody. Wilson at Brentford. Yeah, Wilson's gone to Brentford. Vobert was excellent when he first signed. At least with Vobert, his mother doesn't say anything to us. No, Max does it himself. He does it for himself. Andy says, I hope Darlow stays and we don't need a number one. Thank you for the super chat, Ali. Big up, Jer. Fantastic channel. Oh, by the way, we'll be doing a watch along tomorrow night over on bigup.com for the Morocco and France game, which I think is going to be an absolute banger. Morocco are my dark horses. It's a shame they're playing France so early because France look untouchable right now. But yeah, we're going to do a watch along. If you don't know what Big Up is, we do watch alongs on bigup.com for every single Leeds game. We also do watch alongs for doing 21 games as well, and some match reaction kind of stuff there as well. It's different to what we do on YouTube, more live. Don't forget to smash the like. If you could, that would be amazing. I'd very much appreciate it. One or two last comments, Jer. What about the other investors such as Red Bull and this Greek investor you mentioned about last season? Are they not fronting up? Well, Leeds are allowed to spend 85% of their football-related revenue. I don't know how the investor money works in that, or if they can even put a penny in. Bearing in mind, we have some very rich owners. And if we didn't have a PSR and SCR, that they could spend what they wanted to, and they've got deep pockets to do it. It's the PSR and SCR that's causing the issues. And Aston Villa are in the same boat. Gabby Agbonlahor was whinging about this last week as well, because Villa's owners are minted. They can't spend the money they have. I saw Conor Douglas move to my local club, Halifax. Great little signing. Is he still playing? I thought he was going as coach. That's interesting. Yeah. Superb signing. Big boost in quality. Couldn't get a better first signing. And I think it's a great signing. I really, really do. Oh, Big Up, I might give it a try. Yeah. I'll see you over there, Paul. Morocco are dark horses too. Yeah, I think they've been brilliant. Really, really good. Right, folks, that was slightly longer than I planned on going tonight. But massive thanks for joining me for the live stream. Harry Wilson is a Leeds United player officially. Has a shirt on. No number just yet. We'll see what happens once the other players start to sign over the next couple of weeks. Players back in training on Monday. Check out today's news if you want it, and the interview with Andy Wood. If you want it, I would appreciate that. Give us a like on your way out the door. And if you haven't subscribed, think about it. Think about it. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks very much, folks. See you later.